Emma and Alex had been married for 6 years. They were the quintessential couple, high school sweethearts who seemed destined to be together forever. Their early years were filled with laughter, adventure, and passion. But as the years went by, the initial spark faded, and routine took over their lives. Their once passionate relationship turned into a series of mundane arguments and silent dinners, and the love that once burned brightly between them began to wane. Emma, a spirited and adventurous woman, found herself feeling increasingly trapped. She missed the excitement and spontaneity of their early years. The passion that once drove their relationship seemed to have evaporated, replaced by a monotonous routine that left her feeling unfulfilled and restless. Alex, on the other hand, was more reserved and content with the stability their life offered. He found comfort in their daily routines and couldn't understand Emma's restlessness. Her dissatisfaction hurt him deeply, but he felt powerless to change things. Their arguments became more frequent and intense. What started as small disagreements about household chores or finances escalated into shouting matches filled with accusations and tears. Emma accused Alex of being complacent, of not putting in enough effort to keep their relationship alive. Alex, in turn, felt that Emma was being unreasonable, always seeking something more, something he couldn't give her. One evening, after another particularly heated argument, Emma proposed an idea that left Alex stunned. They had been sitting in their living room, the remnants of their dinner growing cold on the table. The tension was palpable, and Alex could see the determination in Emma's eyes. "I can't keep living like this," Emma said, her voice trembling with a mixture of desperation and resolve. "We need to try something different to save our marriage. What if I saw other men?" Alex's heart sank. The thought of Emma with someone else was unbearable, but he was desperate to make her happy. He loved her more than anything and couldn't imagine a life without her. Despite his gut-wrenching fear and jealousy, he agreed, hoping it would be a temporary phase that would reignite their passion for each other. At first, Emma's dates were infrequent. She met a few men for coffee, had some casual conversations, and occasionally went out for drinks. Alex tried to be supportive, telling himself that this was what Emma needed and that it would ultimately bring them closer. But every time Emma left the house, Alex felt a pang of fear and insecurity. He wondered who she was meeting, what they were talking about, and if she was starting to develop feelings for someone else. Emma's excitement was palpable whenever she talked about her dates. She would come home with a spark in her eyes, recounting the details of her evening with an enthusiasm that Alex hadn't seen in years. She seemed more alive, more vibrant, and it broke Alex's heart to realize that her happiness was tied to being with other men. He tried to be understanding, but each story felt like a knife twisting in his chest. As the weeks went by, Emma's dates became more frequent and intimate. She began to spend entire nights out, coming home in the early hours of the morning. Alex would lie awake in bed, staring at the ceiling, his mind racing with thoughts of what she might be doing. He felt a mix of anger, sadness, and helplessness. He loved Emma deeply and couldn't bear the thought of losing her, but the situation was tearing him apart. One night, Emma returned home at 3 a.m., her face flushed with excitement. Alex was waiting for her in the living room, his eyes red from crying. "How was your night?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "It was amazing," Emma replied, oblivious to Alex's pain. "We went dancing, and then we talked for hours. It felt so good to connect with someone new." Alex forced a smile, but inside, he was crumbling. He couldn't understand how Emma could be so happy while he was drowning in misery. He wanted to tell her how much it hurt him, how every night she spent with someone else felt like a betrayal, but he couldn't find the words. He was terrified that if he pushed too hard, she would leave him for good. Emma, on the other hand, seemed to thrive in her new lifestyle. She enjoyed the attention, the excitement, the sense of freedom that came with meeting new people. She felt empowered and liberated in a way she hadn't felt in years. For the first time in a long time, she felt truly happy. As Emma's nights out became a regular occurrence, Alex's mental health deteriorated. He became increasingly withdrawn and isolated, avoiding social interactions and sinking deeper into depression. His friends and family grew concerned, noticing the strain on his face and the dark circles under his eyes. But Alex couldn't bring himself to tell them the truth. He was too ashamed and afraid of their judgment. Despite his suffering, Alex clung to the hope that Emma would eventually see how much he loved her and come back to him fully. He believed that if he just endured the pain a little longer, she would realize that he was the one for her. But Emma was thriving in her new lifestyle. She loved the freedom, the excitement, the attention. She convinced herself that this was the best arrangement for both of them. "You're lucky to have me," Emma would say, her tone matter-of-fact. "No other woman would put up with you. You're my loser, Alex, and you should be grateful." Alex's heart would break a little more each time she said it, but he couldn't bring himself to argue. He was too afraid of losing her, too afraid of being alone. He accepted her words, internalizing them, and allowed himself to believe that he was lucky to have her, even if it meant enduring the pain of sharing her with others. As the first month of their arrangement drew to a close, Emma realized she was happier than she had been in years. The arrangement was working for her, but the sight of Alex's suffering was a constant reminder of the cost. One evening, after returning from a date, she decided it was time to confront him. "Alex," she began, her voice firm, "I've come to a decision. I want to continue seeing other men. It makes me happy, and I think it's what's best for me. You either accept this, or we go our separate ways." Alex felt his world crumble. He couldn't bear the thought of losing Emma, but the idea of sharing her with others was tearing him apart. After a long, painful silence, he nodded. I accept," he whispered, his voice breaking. But Emma's next words cut him even deeper. "There's one more thing. I don't want you seeing other women. This is about me, and what I need. If you can't accept that, then we can't be together." Alex was stunned. The unfairness of the situation was glaring, but his fear of losing Emma overpowered his sense of injustice. He agreed, feeling a mix of relief and despair. The dynamic of their relationship had shifted irreversibly, showcasing the consequences of sharing a partner with others. In the months that followed, Emma thrived in her new lifestyle, while Alex became a shadow of his former self. He lived in constant fear and insecurity, unable to voice his pain. Their marriage became a facade, a hollow shell of what it once was. Emma's happiness came at the expense of Alex's misery, highlighting the imbalance and unfairness in their relationship. The arrangement that was supposed to save their marriage only served to expose its cracks, leaving Alex to grapple with the consequences of his choice and the realization that sometimes, love isn't enough to bridge the gap between two people. The cracks in the foundation of their marriage were widening, and it was only a matter of time before everything came crashing down. Alex knew that he had to make a decision, either continue to endure the pain of their arrangement or find the strength to let go of the woman he loved. But as he looked at Emma, his heart breaking a little more with each passing day, he couldn't bring himself to make the choice. As weeks turned into months, Alex found himself descending deeper into a dark and tumultuous emotional abyss. Emma's newfound freedom and the regularity of her late-night escapades gnawed at his soul. He struggled to reconcile his love for her with the pain of sharing her with other men. Emma, on the other hand, seemed to revel in her newfound independence. She continued to explore her desires and connect with different men, each encounter reinforcing her belief that this unconventional arrangement was the key to her happiness. She returned home at all hours of the night, her face flushed with excitement, while Alex waited, unable to sleep, his mind tortured by thoughts of what she might be doing. One particular evening, Alex sat alone in their dimly lit living room, the ticking of the clock echoing in the silence. It was past midnight, and Emma had not yet returned from her date. Anxiety gnawed at his gut as he replayed their recent conversations in his mind. The ultimatum she had given him still rang in his ears: accept her freedom or lose her forever. The door creaked open, and Emma stepped inside, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor. She was smiling, her eyes bright with excitement. "Hey," she greeted casually, as if nothing were amiss. Alex looked up, his heart sinking at the sight of her. "Emma, where have you been?" he asked, his voice tinged with a mix of worry and frustration. "Oh, just out," she replied nonchalantly, shrugging off his concern. "I lost track of time. You know how it is." Alex felt a surge of anger and hurt rise within him, but he swallowed it down, not wanting to push her away further. "It's late," he managed to say, trying to keep his voice steady. "I worry about you." Emma's smile faded slightly, replaced by a look of mild annoyance. "Alex, we've been over this," she said, her tone firm. "I need this. I need to feel alive again. Can't you understand that?" Alex felt like he was drowning in her words. He wanted to scream at her, to shake her and make her see how much she was hurting him. But he couldn't find the strength. Instead, he nodded silently, the weight of his emotions pressing down on him like a suffocating blanket. Days turned into weeks, and Alex's anguish only deepened. He found himself withdrawing further from friends and family, unable to share the truth of his crumbling marriage. His days were filled with a sense of numbness, each passing moment a reminder of his growing isolation and despair. Emma continued to come and go as she pleased, her nights out becoming more frequent and unpredictable. She would return home at all hours of the night, her laughter echoing through the empty hallways of their once vibrant home. Alex would lie awake in bed, his mind a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. He wanted to confront her, to demand answers, but he feared her reaction. He feared losing her more than anything. One afternoon, Alex found himself sitting alone in their local coffee shop, a steaming cup of coffee growing cold in front of him. His thoughts were consumed by Emma, by the woman he loved and the woman he no longer recognized. He couldn't escape the gnawing feeling that he was losing her, bit by bit, with each passing day. Across the cafe, a young couple laughed and held hands, their affectionate gestures a stark contrast to the turmoil in Alex's heart. He couldn't help but envy them, their simplicity, their certainty. He wondered if they knew how lucky they were to have found each other, to have a love that didn't come with conditions or sacrifices. As he sat there, lost in his thoughts, Alex realized that he had lost sight of himself in his desperate attempt to hold on to Emma. He had sacrificed his dignity and self-respect, all in the name of love. But was this love? Was this what love was supposed to feel like, pain and longing, uncertainty and fear? Emma's words echoed in his mind, taunting him with their bitter truth. "You'd never find another woman like me," she had said, her voice tinged with arrogance. "You're lucky to have me. I'm the best thing that ever happened to you." Alex wanted to believe her, to hold on to the hope that she was right. But deep down, he knew that this wasn't love. This wasn't how love was supposed to feel. Love wasn't supposed to hurt this much. As the months turned into years, Alex found himself grappling with a difficult truth. He had accepted Emma's terms not out of love, but out of fear, fear of losing her, fear of being alone. He had convinced himself that this was the price he had to pay to keep her in his life, to salvage what remained of their fractured relationship. One evening, as they sat together on their worn-out couch, Alex found himself at a crossroads. Emma had just returned from another late-night rendezvous, her laughter ringing hollow in the silence of their home. He looked at her, really looked at her, and saw the woman he loved and the woman he had lost along the way. "Emma," he began, his voice steady but tinged with sadness, "I can't do this anymore. I can't keep living like this, pretending that everything is okay when it's not. I love you, but I deserve more than this." Emma looked at him, her eyes searching his face for signs of hesitation or doubt. But Alex held her gaze, his resolve firm. "I need to be with someone who wants only me," he continued, his voice breaking slightly. "I can't keep sharing you with other men. It's tearing me apart." For a moment, Emma said nothing, the weight of his words hanging heavily between them. Then, with a sigh, she shook her head. "I can't change who I am, Alex," she replied softly. "I thought you understood that." Alex felt his heart shatter into 1,000 pieces. He had hoped that Emma would choose him, that their love would conquer all obstacles. But he now saw the truth. He was holding on to a dream that no longer existed, clinging to a love that had faded long ago. "I can't do this anymore," Alex whispered, his voice barely audible. "I can't keep pretending that this is enough for me." And with that, he made the hardest decision of his life. He walked away from the woman he loved, knowing that it was the only way he could reclaim his sense of self-worth and dignity. He knew that he deserved more than a half-hearted love, more than a fractured relationship built on compromises and sacrifices. In the weeks and months that followed, Alex focused on healing and rebuilding his life. He sought therapy to process the pain and loss he had endured, surrounded himself with supportive friends and family who reminded him of his worth. Slowly, he began to rediscover himself, the man he had been before Emma, and the man he could be without her. Emma, too, faced her own reckoning. She continued to see other men, searching for the fulfillment and happiness she had once believed lay beyond the confines of their marriage. But with each passing day, she realized that she had lost more than just Alex. She had lost herself in her quest for freedom and independence. As Alex moved forward with his life, he carried with him the lessons learned from his time with Emma. He knew that love should never come at the expense of one's dignity and self-respect, and that sometimes, the bravest thing one can do is let go of a love that no longer serves them. But fate had its own plans for Alex and Emma. Despite their separation, they found themselves drawn back to each other time and again. Their bond, though fractured, refused to be severed completely. One evening, several months after their painful parting, Emma showed up unexpectedly at Alex's doorstep. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her face streaked with tears. "Alex," she began, her voice trembling with emotion, "I can't do this anymore. I've tried to move on, to find happiness with others, but it's never been the same without you." Alex listened quietly, his heart aching at the sight of her pain. He had never stopped loving her, despite everything. "Emma," he replied softly, "I still love you too. But I don't know if I can go back to how things were." Emma reached out and took his hand, her touch familiar yet tentative. "I know I've hurt you," she whispered, her voice raw with emotion. "But I've realized something, I don't want to be with anyone else. You're the only one who truly knows me, who sees me for who I am." Alex looked into her eyes, seeing the vulnerability and sincerity he had missed for so long. He knew that their path forward would be fraught with challenges and uncertainties. But in that moment, he also knew that he couldn't deny the love he still felt for her. "I don't know if I can ever fully accept what you've done," Alex admitted quietly. "But I also know that I can't imagine my life without you. If you're willing to try, if we can rebuild trust and honesty between us, then maybe we can find a way forward." Emma nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I want that too, Alex," she said earnestly. "I want us to try again, to rebuild what we've lost." And so, against all odds, Alex and Emma chose to give their love another chance. They embarked on a journey of healing and forgiveness, learning to communicate openly and honestly with each other. It wasn't easy, they faced doubts and insecurities along the way, but they were determined to make it work. Over time, Alex found himself gradually letting go of the pain and resentment that had consumed him. He realized that their love was stronger than the mistakes they had made, that it had the power to transcend their past hurts. Emma, too, committed herself to being transparent and faithful to Alex. She understood the gravity of his forgiveness and worked tirelessly to earn back his trust, proving through her actions that she was committed to their renewed relationship. As they sat together one evening, watching the sunset from their balcony, Alex wrapped his arms around Emma, holding her close. "I never thought we'd make it back here," he admitted softly, pressing a kiss to her forehead. Emma smiled, her heart overflowing with gratitude and love. "Me neither," she replied honestly. "But I'm so glad we did." And so, Alex and Emma embarked on a new chapter of their love story. Thank you so much for watching this video. I put a link down below about something very interesting you'll like. Go check that out. Subscribe for more daily content. See you on the next one.